Hello, it looks like it's 9:30, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the next session in our Just for Me in July series. I'm Amber Letcher. I'm the SDSU 4-H Youth Development Specialist, and we're excited to have you with us this morning. Last week, Megan Erickson went over some nutrition and diet tips for self-care. If you missed that last session, you should have received a recording for it, or you can search for it on our SDSU Extension YouTube channel. So feel free to look for those videos and also feel free to share them. For today, Nikki Prosch will be discussing the importance of good sleep hygiene. And before I introduce Nikki, we'd love to hear from you all in the chat box. So if you take a moment to type in your name, your location, and since this is our last meeting in the July series, we'd love to hear any successes that you've had in including some relaxation or some self-care tips into your routine. So feel free to share those in the chat box. And with that, I will introduce Nikki Prosch, who is the Health and Physical Activity Field Specialist for SDSU Extension. Nikki works closely with Extension staff in South Dakota communities to provide statewide leadership and physical activity interventions, programming, and resources to a variety of sectors. She's a Yoga Fit Program Level 1 yoga instructor and just recently completed her 200-hour registered yoga teacher training. She enjoys practicing yoga on her own and teaching a weekly community yoga class in Elkton, South Dakota. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please also feel free to type those into the chat box. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nikki.
Great, thank you, Amber. And hello, everybody. Alrighty, so today we will be talking about yoga, but more specifically how yoga can maybe help you improve your sleep or change your sleeping habits if maybe you're struggling to fall asleep or have any issues with sleep. But I also want to kind of stress that even if you don't have any sleep issues, if you sleep fine, I think what we're going to talk about today will be beneficial, and practicing yoga has multiple other benefits outside of improving your sleep. So just keep that in the back of your mind. This first image here, I just thought was so appropriate, especially considering, you know, kind of the world that we've all adjusted to over the last few months. But just remembering that although we can't maybe control everything that's going outside in the world, we can learn to control our inner world through yoga. So I hope some of the information I share with you today about being aware of your breath, kind of being a little more mindful, which you've probably heard throughout this series, can really help you have a little more sense of control, again, on that inner world. Next slide, Amber. So before we start talking too much about yoga and sleep, I thought it was important to just maybe include maybe a refresher for some of you, or just some in general, some additional tips outside of practicing yoga that can help you with your sleep. So next slide. Some of these might be review for you, or you've probably heard bits and pieces of all of this. But again, if you do struggle falling asleep at night or staying asleep, maybe trying one of these other options in addition to some of the yoga poses I'll show you later might be something that fits right up your alley. So keeping it dark, you know, closing blinds, turning off your screens, maybe getting some of the light reducing curtains in your room if you like it really dark. Keeping it quiet, maybe trying earplugs or some white noise, or turning on a fan or something, especially if you're a very light sleeper, to kind of have that static noise in your room or wherever you're sleeping. I mean, keep it comfortable. Of course, we all want to be comfortable. So maybe just reevaluating how long you've had your pillow. Maybe your pillow is too hard or too soft. The same for your mattress, and kind of adjusting things of where you're sleeping might be having an influence on how much you're waking up, or, you know, if you're getting overly hot or too cold in the middle of the night. So remembering to keep it comfortable wherever you're sleeping. And then I think we've all heard the screen time, you know, staying away from screens as much as we can before we we go to bed. Try to choose things that are relaxing before you go to bed. You know, maybe not, maybe avoid working into late hours at night, especially maybe if your work schedule has been shifted a little since COVID, but really trying to focus in on what you're doing right before you go to bed. You know, me and my husband, sometimes we both will look at our phones right before we go to bed, and it's just what, you know, I'll always want to look at my calendar for the next day, set my alarm, but it's something that, you know, after preparing this presentation, I was like, man, I really should quit doing that and maybe do that, you know, before I put the girls to bed, which is earlier in the day or early at night. So just kind of reevaluating what you do before bed and making some small changes if one of those things might be something you're doing or might help you improve your sleep. So next slide. In addition to all of that, these are some additional just tips to improve your sleeping at night. And again, some of this might be a review for you, but maybe if you don't have a very set routine before you go to bed, maybe try adding something to your routine at night, whether it be, you know, I'll take you through some breathing exercises. So maybe it's just adding a simple 1 or 2 minute breathing exercise before you go to bed. I mean, you can even do it when you're laying down in bed. So maybe once you're in bed, taking time to breathe and fully kind of focus on that present moment. Maybe reading before bed, taking a bath, listening to some calming music, that might be more up your alley. So maybe just try incorporating 1 or 2 of those things in kind of your get ready bed routine. I think we've all also heard picking a consistent bedtime can be very beneficial for your sleep, especially in the long term. So if you're keeping to that same cycle and the same time every night, that can help with your sleeping at night. We'll talk more about moving throughout the day, but of course, keeping your body active and moving throughout the day is also very important. And then maybe if you're an individual who, I tend to have a racing mind, or I'm always thinking about my to-do list. So maybe try doing a nightly journal, journaling down whatever you need to for that day, or maybe journaling your to-do list for the next day. So if you lay in bed and are constantly thinking of what you have to do tomorrow or what you have to do this weekend, and it's really preventing you from falling asleep, maybe try having that notebook you keep by your nightstand there, so you can jot down anything you need to before you go to bed, and maybe just have that safe place where it's wrote down and you know you won't forget it. So those are all tips for you to try. Before we start talking about yoga, I am going to have Amber share a resource from the National Sleep Foundation, which is a sleep diary. And if you've done a food diary, it's very similar to that. It's really just keeping track of your schedule for the day and how it may or may not be affecting your sleep. So it's a 7-day diary. You keep track of things like how much caffeine you consumed. You know, did you take a nap that day? What were you doing before you went to bed? And just in general, notes about what you did that day. And then you take notes on how it maybe affected your sleep. So this is just an additional tool if you're still struggling to get a good night's rest. It might be helpful to give you kind of that snapshot of what your day looks like and even what your week looks like. And it might help you determine what habits or behaviors you could modify or change to help with that sleep. And the important thing too is to make sure you start small. You know, don't try to change everything right at once. So maybe if you're noticing you're consuming a lot of caffeine later in the afternoon or in the evening, maybe start small with cutting back on some of that caffeine and really finding what works for you. So this is a resource we'll put in the chat box too, but if you need it, you can definitely, you know, jot things down or print it off as a resource. Okay, thanks, Amber. So going back to the PowerPoint, we're going to transition a little more talking about physical activity. So I do have one slide in here that talks specifically about physical activity. So today, back right there. Thanks, Amber. So today we will be talking specifically about yoga, which is a form of physical activity, but I thought it was important to stress that really all kinds of physical activity can be of benefit to your sleep. And the physical activity guidelines actually say that physically active individuals sleep better, feel better, and function better. And if you are regularly physically active, you can have immediate benefits. So That means if, say, you exercise today, tonight immediately you might have a better night's sleep. And then also in the long term, if you're consistently active, week after week, there might be some of those longer term benefits to how you feel, function, and how you sleep. So keep that in the back of your mind as well. If yoga is not for you, maybe trying a different form of physical activity might be something that can definitely help you improve your sleep. All right, next slide. So talking a little more specifically about yoga. Next slide, Amber. So you might be kind of chuckling that I put the definition of sleep on this slide because I'm sure we all know what it is. We do it every day. But I did want to kind of highlight the definition of sleep and show you the connection back to yoga. So sleep is actually defined as a condition of the body and mind such as that which typically reoccurs for several hours every night, in which the nervous system is relatively inactive, eyes are closed, muscles relaxed, and consciousness practically suspended. So the important thing in this definition I really want you to pull away is that body and mind connection. So transitioning to our next slide, yoga is again, a very strong mind-body connection. So the overall goal of practicing yoga for individuals is typically to still the mind. So really bring in some focus on mindfulness, awareness of your breath, and make that body and mind connection. So I think it's so important to see that connection between the definitions and how yoga can really be something that helps you calm your breath, still your mind, and bring you back to that awareness of what you're doing right now in the present moment and focus in on how that might benefit your sleep at night. So yoga, one of my favorite things about yoga is that it's really malleable to the individual. There's multiple forms of practice of yoga. There's classes that are fully focused on breath and maybe more on the meditation side of things. And then there's classes that are maybe more of like your yoga sculpt or higher intensity type classes. And then there's also classes that are really focused on restorative, deep stretching. There's so many different ways to practice yoga. And I always like to tell people, yoga can be what you want it to mean to you. There's no right or wrong way to practice yoga. Of course, we want you to do the poses safely and in the right form, but the way you practice yoga is up to you. You can do the breath work every day or practice different poses, however you would like to practice yoga. And then also I just want you each to maybe think of a time, hopefully recently, when your body felt calm and stable. Maybe you got a massage, maybe you were reading a book, maybe you were laying at the lake or at a beach or somewhere where you really felt your body felt relaxed and stable and calm. And then think about maybe how your mind also felt at that same time. Hopefully if your body was relaxed, your mind also felt calm and relaxed, and how the body's feeling had an effect on your mind. So again, making that mind-body connection. And then on the opposite side, think of a time maybe when you were tense or constricted. Maybe you were preparing for a big presentation, or your children weren't listening, or something really made you feel tense and constricted. Odds are that your mind at that time also felt those same feelings of tenseness and constriction. So again, just bringing back that connection of the mind and body, and how sometimes how our mind is thinking will have an effect on our body. And the same, if our bodies are reacting, it may affect our mind. So next slide. So this slide here is it's very important. So I won't be able to see you all and work with you all individually. So I'm trying to keep this presentation very broad to fit everybody who's maybe looking to improve their sleep through yoga. So generally there's kind of two categories, I would say, for how individuals' minds kind of function. The first one is called Rajastic. I can't ever pronounce it. That's actually, I think, where I fall more so. So hopefully as I go through these definitions, you maybe see that you fit with one or the other. But Rajastic individuals tend to be more high energy, forward thinking. They're always thinking of the future, what they have to do tonight, what I have to do tomorrow, what I have to do the weekend. And they really kind of have more of a sense of that racing mind. So if you're an individual who maybe falls more so in this category, it's really important for you, if you're going to practice yoga to help your sleep at night, to choose poses that would be not invigorating. So if you're high energy, you really want to calm that mind down, slow it down, bring in some breathing exercises to kind of help balance out that mind-body connection. So I'll demonstrate a few poses, but if you fall into this category, you know, doing things like deep breathing exercises, child's pose with our knees together, Savasana, our final relaxation, are good poses for you to try to, again, really bring down some of that energy. So on the opposite side, individuals might be more of a tamasic type mind. So this is a little more, their minds ruminate on things. They're not as high energy. They maybe think longer about things. I don't really like to say they're slow, but they have a more of a slower demeanor. They're not as high energy. So really just the opposite of the high energy mind. Their limbs might feel heavy. They might be that person that you see walking slow somewhere, whereas if you see me, I'm a fast walker. I'll probably power walk by them because I'm a fast walker. But again, it's really just that opposite kind of the mind. So for this individual, it's important before they go to bed to really burn some energy. So they'd want to choose some yoga poses that are maybe a little more invigorating, that really help burn some of that energy before they go to bed. So some poses for burning energy, a lot of times twist, anything where you open your hips. Opening your hips is an invigorating pose. Forward bend, bridge pose. Those are good options for this individual. And all in all, the goal of choosing different poses that match kind of where you fall is that you can really find that space of balance, which is sattva is a term used to find a balanced mind. So that's really what you're aiming for when you're choosing your different yoga poses before bed. So hopefully you maybe could at least self-identify which category you might consider yourself to fall into, and then that would in turn help decide maybe what different yoga poses you would try before bed. All right, next slide. So again, before I demonstrate a few poses, these are just some in general things related back to yoga that I want you to keep in the back of your mind. So it's really important, you know, if you're going to start practicing yoga to help improve your sleep, it's important that you don't, you know, strive for that end goal and kind of let go and really allow yourself to be in the present moment instead of thinking in your mind, I'm going to start doing yoga for X amount of time at night so that I can sleep 8 hours, because that's really not bringing that balanced mind into practice. So this one's a lot easier to say than to do, because I think a lot of times people are goal oriented and want that end goal. So as much as you can, really try to let go, let yourself just practice the pose, let yourself just breathe and be in the present moment. And in turn, you'll hopefully see that benefit of improved sleep. I've talked a lot about breath, and I'll talk a lot about breath when I demonstrate the poses, but make sure you're really focusing in on your inhale and exhale. The breathing part of yoga is so important, and so important for that mind-body connection. Allow yourself to kind of slow your mind. Again, if you're that rajastic type person thinking of the future, try to really think of maybe the present moment right now, what you're doing. Allow yourself to just be in the present moment and not thinking of the future or what's next type of thing. And then I also added lavender scent. So this is totally optional and something that some people like scent, some people don't. If you'd like to diffuse some lavender oil before bed, maybe if you are practicing yoga or doing some breathing, you could try diffusing some lavender. You know, they also make some lavender flavored teas. So maybe consuming some tea before bed, really just if it's something that will help you relax and something that works for you. It's another thing that you can do or include with your yoga practice. All right, next slide. Okay, so now I'm going to demonstrate something. So I can't see any of you, but you get to watch me. But I encourage you, I know everyone might be in different, some of you may be in an office, some of you might not be in an office, but if you're in a space where you can try some of these with me, I really encourage you to do that, just because I feel like when you're doing it, you might have questions that come up, and then hopefully it'll be easier for you to do this pose outside of this session and remember which ones we kind of did. So again, if you're somewhere where you can do them, they're nothing crazy. You'll really just need a wall space or maybe a chair. I encourage you to try them. The first one we're gonna do seated right here. You don't really even need to see me, you just need to hear me. And it's really, we're just focusing a little on our breath. So in yoga, we call it pranayama, and that's really just the awareness of our breath and focus on our breath. So as I mentioned, it's a very important piece of yoga and yoga practice. So this is something you can do. Again, you can sit down, you can do it in a chair. If you're already laying down and struggling to fall asleep, you can do some breath work just laying in your bed. And I'm going to show you, I think just because of my time, I'll show you the left nostril breathing. And then when we're going through some of the poses, I'll incorporate some other ways that you can incorporate some of your breath work. So the first one I'm going to have you do is left nostril breathing. So if you want to kind of find a nice comfortable position wherever you're at, maybe kind of readjust that tailbone, sit up nice and straight. You can keep your eyes open, or if you'd like to close them, you can do that as well. So we are doing the left nostril. So we're going to actually plug our right nostril and leave our left nostril open, because the left side of our bodies and that channel of our breath is considered more of the calming side of our breath, whereas the right side is actually more of the energizing side of our breath. So if you're more of that Tamastic type person, you might actually want to try the right nostril breathing, and that's fine if you want to do that now, but I'm going to demonstrate the left side. They're both done the same. You're really just blocking one side of your nostril. So what I'll have you do is just take your thumb, and we're going to put, if you're stuffed up or anything, feel free to skip this and just breathe through your mouth, just because we'll be plugging one side of our nose, and I know it might be hard to breathe if that's the case. So we'll take our thumb, gently just apply pressure to our right nostril, so it really closes off the airflow on that right side. I have to talk here, so I'll be breathing out my mouth a little bit, but I want you to close your mouth and really try to focus on just breathing in through the left nostril and then exhaling through that left nostril. So gently apply that pressure on the right nostril, close your mouth, and then we'll slowly inhale through that left nostril, feeling a sense of calm, and then exhale all that air back out, letting go of any feelings of anxiety or worry, and really allowing yourself, inhaling, to just focus on the breath. Notice the control you have of that breath, inhaling through your left nostril, and then exhaling. Inhaling that sense of calm, feeling the air flow through your body all the way to your toes as you inhale. And then exhale, bringing that sense of awareness to your belly as you push all that air back out. Let's inhale again. And exhale. One more time, inhaling through that left nostril. And slowly exhaling all that air back out. And then slowly moving the thumb away, maybe readjusting a little bit, but that's a simple breath exercise you can do, again, as I said, really anywhere, wherever is comfortable. So that's something to try. And then, as I said, if you're maybe somebody who needs to burn a little energy, just switch the thumb to the opposite side of your nostril and try doing that. Okay, so we are going to quit sharing the PowerPoint, and I am going to move back to my yoga mat that I have set up. And this is where I encourage you, and I actually got to switch my mic here just so you can hear me. One sec. Are you able to hear me still? Okay, perfect. I think you can. Okay, so if you're at a space where you can go close to a wall, the first pose we'll demonstrate is legs up the wall. So I have my little setup here over in my girls' little play space. This one is just like it sounds. It's a nice relaxing pose that really helps with blood circulation. So if you're by a wall, I encourage you to kind of scoot that bottom up as close as you can to the wall. Bend your knees. I'm going to show, the next pose I'm going to show is kind of an alternative way to do this. So if you have lower back issues or hip issues and you want to avoid this one, you can wait for the next pose. But we'll bring our hips up close to the wall. Then we're just slowly going to pivot the legs so they're resting right against the wall. You might have to adjust the bottom. In this pose, you can also take a pillow or something to rest under your tailbone to provide a little more support. Or if you have a yoga mat, you can also roll the yoga mat so it's below your tailbones. We want you to flex the feet. So just like your feet are resting on the roof of the ceiling, let those shoulders fully relax, sink into the floor or your mat. And then you just bring that awareness back to your breath here, inhaling and exhaling, allowing yourself to fully relax. Let those legs relax. Let go of tension in the thighs. And just allowing yourself to stay in this pose for a few minutes. As you breathe. So this is legs up the wall. This would be considered maybe more of a calming pose to do before bed, but really any individual can get that benefit as well. So it's something you can practice regardless of maybe what mindset you're in, but it is more of a calming pose. Another way to do that same pose is legs on a chair. So you might have to kind of find a chair that's good for your height. I'm tall, I have long legs, so I have to have a higher chair. You can adjust it with towels on how high or how low you would like that chair, but it's done in the same way. You kind of scoot that bottom so you're nice and close to the chair, then rotate on our back. Then we really want our knees. You want your knees in a nice 90-degree angle, so you don't want your foot up too high, and then you don't want your foot down too low, really so it's resting in a nice perfect 90 degrees. Scoot that bottom nice and close to the chair, lay down, and really doing the exact same thing, allowing the weight of those legs to kind of rest on your chair, and take a few breaths in that pose. So that's legs on a chair. And it can be it doesn't have to be a chair like this. It can be your couch, or if you have different kind of height adjustable things where you can rest your chairs. It's really just making sure you're comfortable in that position. So another pose I'm going to show is child's pose. So there's two ways to do child's pose. More of an invigorating pose would be opening the hips in child's pose. So this would be more of the Tomastic type person who needs to burn some energy. You'd maybe want to open your hips, reach the hands out, and sink into child's pose. So let the bottom sink towards the heels. It's okay if it doesn't touch the heels, but really just kind of sinking it towards the heels in child's pose. And then a more relaxing way to do child's pose is keeping the knees together. Hopefully you can see me okay over there. This will stretch your lower back a little more too instead of the hips, but we'll walk the hands out away from the crown of our head, sink the chin to our chest. And really just taking a few moments here again, focusing in on our breath. Trying not to let our minds race. Giving ourselves time to relax. So that's child's pose. Just because of time, I'm going to go through these next ones here just a little quick. So that's child's pose. Another is supine spinal twist, or you can do that seated. So this would be considered more of an invigorating pose as well. So if you're doing it supine, you'll lay on your back, legs bent 90 degrees. Hands can come behind your head like you're doing a crunch, And the knees will fall, keeping them level with the hips to both sides, really just giving a natural twist of that spine. Again, breathing, coming back center. I'm gonna hit my wall, but then doing it on the opposite side as well. Another more invigorating pose would be forward fold or forward bend. So this one you can do standing. I'm gonna demonstrate it here for you seated. So this is just like it sounds. We're really gonna focus on bending at the hips and not letting our shoulders round to reach our toes. In this pose, people do it wrong quite frequently because they're trying to reach for their toes instead of really stretching their hamstrings and focusing on hinging at those hips. So in this one, it's important to start, with a nice neutral spine and then just slowly push that chest forward. Maybe walk those hands down those legs just gently. Again, keeping a nice neutral spine and finding it to whatever level, whatever space you kind of want to end there in that forward bend. So this is done the same standing, is really bending at the hips, reaching down towards your toes. And then the last one we have is Savasana. And again, I know we're getting close on time, but this is really the final relaxation. This is one you can do in your bed, really anywhere you can get comfortable. In this pose, it's important to really let your body melt into the mat or maybe your bed or your sheets. Let go of any tension you feel in your muscles. And this would be another one to kind of pull back some of that pranayama and breathing practice. Maybe bringing your right hand on your heart and your left hand on your belly. And just noticing the rise and fall of your belly and your chest as you inhale and exhale. So I know those were kind of quick and abbreviated, but we're over our 10 o'clock time. So I wanted to try to show you those all. But there are some other poses that I would love to share with any of you. So if you have any more questions or would like to, see different poses, feel free to reach out to me and I can send those to you. Other than that, I will turn it over to Amber for probably a short and sweet closing.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Nikki. If you'll stay with us for just a couple more moments, we do have a short, a couple poll questions for you to respond to. And also, if there are some questions that have come up, please feel free to share those. We'll stay here a bit to answer those if you have them. So here is the first poll question. Did you feel today's session was a good use of your time? Feel free to answer that. Looks like we've got most responses here, so I'll launch the next question and see. Oh, I think I relaunched the same one. Let's share those results. Or maybe there's only one question with this one. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Any questions that have come up? I'm not seeing anything, so maybe we will close out for today. Thank you so much to all of you for attending these sessions. Like we said, this is the last one in the July series, but feel free to search for these videos on YouTube. Feel free to share them as well. We're also very open to feedback. If there are topics that you would like to hear about later, feel free to contact any of us. And other than that, have a wonderful day.
Yeah, thank you.